Excited for today. Happy Tuesday. And if anyone else is right now tuning in, feel free to actually tell us where you're from. And yeah, in the meantime, we're still going to wait for people to roll in as we just started going live. So, yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the margin recovery mode that is brought to you by Aftersell. And I'm Alicia. I'll be your host for today. We actually brought a couple of amazing shoppers mind in e-commerce, like brand strategy and customer experience, to kind of share the battle tested ways to reclaim margin in this tough market. Now, this event is actually designed to be very, very practical and, of course, fast paced since we're in e-commerce and also very much focused. So, actually, buckle up for the value pack hour. You'll actually be getting a real brand stories, actionable tips, and even some exclusive giveaways. So I'm really, really excited to dive into this today. And yeah, love that. I have somebody from Florida already tuning in. We've got Chicago. Love that. Keep it coming. Like I'm super excited to have all these. And I'm currently right now in Dallas. So it is very, very warm out here. So I can feel whoever out there, you guys are all just in the warmest city as well. And yeah, without further ado, I do want to kind of just dive into it as quick as possible so we can unpack as much as possible as we can as well today. So, up first, we actually have Gina. She's the CEO and founder of Stay.ai. I'm just going to bring her to the front stage right now. Gina, can you hear me? And you're mute. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I can.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you take away. And yeah, let's go.
Amazing. I am going to share my screen real quick. So hopefully y'all can see this. And I'm going to talk today about a couple different ways that you can protect margins with smarter subscription strategies. So I will cover three different brands that did a couple different things to really kind of boost their AOV on subscription orders and cut down on their margins. So one was shifting to multi-month cadences. Another one was bundling seasonal shipments, which really was incredibly creative. This I hadn't seen anybody do, so I'm really excited to tell this story. And then the next one was consolidating orders. So the first brand I'll talk about is Veracity. It's a supplement brand. They have a lot of customers, and the way that they've kind of built their business is that a lot of people are on like a one pack every 1 month cadence, which is pretty standard in the space. So they've got people coming in through that. That's how they're able to acquire customers. But they started to realize that customers that subscribed to bigger pack sizes actually had a higher LTV. So a couple months ago, about 7 months ago now, they started pushing and asking their customers that are on the 1 month, one pack every 1 month cadences, hey, would you like to switch over to a 3 pack every 3 months? One, this is better for the environment, fewer shipments. We also can give you a better discount. And they started moving people over. They're also a brand that does cover shipping for free on subscriptions. So that removes two different packages that they need to cover the shipping on. So they started moving people over to this. And what they actually saw was one, higher AOV for these customers, fewer shipments going out, which those ones are obvious, but actually better retention. So now that this has been going on, it takes a minute to really track this. But now that it's been going on for about 7 months, they're seeing that they have much higher retention with these customers that are moving over to these 3 month cadences. So this is something that a lot of different brands can do. With Stay, you're actually able to send out a quick action that is a switch SKU, switch frequency quick action. So you can even set up a flow, what somebody has done. They've gotten 2 subscription orders and then an automated email that's like, hey, with one click, do you want to switch to a 3 pack every 3 months instead of a 1 pack every 1 month? Here are the benefits why. So this you can actually automate. They did test it in smaller groups first, saw a good take rate on it. And this is a quick win. So if you're looking to bundle some things, especially if you're offering free shipping on subscriptions, this is something that you absolutely should try out. The next, and this is incredibly creative, we work with the brand Alice, if you're familiar with them. They sell chocolate. And so in the summer months, shipping can be astronomically expensive because they can't let the chocolate melt. So it has to be either next day or 2 day shipping. They have to cold ship it. So they did something incredibly creative and a little bit manual. But I loved this because they emailed all their customers back in May. that were on subscription, and they said, hey, if you opt in to get all of your summer orders, so 3 orders in one, all in the next month, we'll throw in an extra pack for free and a discount for you moving that up. And so they actually got a 20% take rate on customers saying like, yes, we want to move up our shipment. I'll get this in. So then they locked people in, incredible for cash flow. And then they're able to cut down on shipping, and cold ship for them can go up to $35 a pack. So this is just huge. It is a bit of manual work. So they had to, pull the list of everybody. They had to, send out the survey. Do you want to do this? They had to gather the opt-in. But then once they had that, and yes, it takes a couple hours, but once they had that, then they came to our team and they figured out how to strategically run bulk updates to their subscribers. So they ran the bulk updates. They were like, the first one would be, update the update the amount of products in it. So go from 1 to 3, then, hit get it now so that the order fires immediately. Then they ran a bulk update that was reducing the quantity back to the original one and pushing out the next order date to October. So not completely seamless with like one click of a button, but for them, really, really worth it, and will do wonders for their margins over the summer. So if you have a product like this, if you're in New York City, it might be a little too late to get ahead of the heat, but there's definitely some things you can do to bundle stuff up, even if you do send out just one shipment in July instead of one in July and one in August. So not too late to do some of this stuff. And then the last one was something that ProMix actually did while they were moving over to Stay. So all the subscription platforms can be a bit different in how they structure the different line items. So with Stay, you can have multiple line items per subscription, but a couple of the other platforms, every line item is its own subscription, pros and cons for each setup way. But what happens when every line item is its own subscription is that when somebody goes into like skip an item or update the order date or delay by 2 weeks, sometimes they'll just do one of the products, not even realizing what they're doing. And that'll get like kind of rip apart the 2 products from the subscription and put them on different cadences. A lot of brands also cover free shipping. So what ends up happening is they take something that should have been in 1 shipment and now it's in 2 shipments. Over time, maybe it's in 3 shipments. So ProMix, when they were moving over, we saw just how many different subscriptions they had per subscribers and looked at it. And so again, bit of a manual lift here, but we went in, we pulled a list of everybody who had, 2 or more subscriptions, all on the same cadence. So think about somebody who maybe has a protein and a D-bloat, but one ships on the 13th and one ships on the 17th. Anybody who had or those orders, like within, I think 5 days, the brand decided to manually combine those and just like without even having to message the customer, but people who had bigger gaps, like a 15-day gap, they sent out an email to them and decided what they wanted to do, but they were able to merge thousands of subscriptions. And when you think about the amount of orders and the shipping every single month that they were covering, it was tens of thousands of dollars in savings for them. So yeah, just to sum it up, don't be afraid to test your cadences and see if you can move people onto, 3 month, every 2 packs, even whatever you can do there, whatever makes sense, like for your product and shipping things out. Plan if you can around seasonal shipping, especially in the summer months. I was shocked at the take rate that they got from that. I thought it was just incredible and a huge cost savings there. And then also probably worth it to do an audit like once a year. It's not something that you have to do every month. It can be a bit manual, but if you have a big subscription program, going in once a year and just evaluating how many people, have multiple different subscriptions shipping on all these different days, and is there anything we can do to consolidate those, will give you just smarter logistics and way stronger margins.
That is so amazing. Can I just say, like, I had no idea with that mushroom chocolate. And on top of that, that sounds delicious, guys. Summer and like getting ahead of time just to do all these things that you get prepped on. And then on top of that, they're throwing in some freebies in there. I love that. Gina, there's actually one question for you here. I'm starting to see companies move to what I'll call a solution system, offering a mix of product ideas, recipes, inspiration around solving a particular pain point. Any insights about the success of these versus regular volume-based bundles?
Ooh, okay. So offering a mix of, I mean, I think the question here is like kind of like building what like community
Yeah.
around your subscribers and putting more stuff out. I mean, with Stay, we are always pushing, like, give people a reason to subscribe outside of just the auto ship or the discount. So sending people exclusive content, recipes, like anything like that can be super helpful. I hope that answers the question.
Amazing. Yeah. If not, feel free to like answer them as well, but I'll mark this as answered. Thank you so much, Gina, for your time. I appreciate it as always. Yeah, thank you guys. So next up, we actually have Augustin. So from Passport, where he's actually heading the global trade and tariff strategy. Very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to, yeah, get him on board right now and talk a little bit more about it. Let me put him on stage right now. All righty. All right.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Good. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Alicia, for that intro. Yeah, as she mentioned, I'm currently at Passport, and we basically partner with brands to help them grow internationally and reach customers outside of the US, primarily with a combination of technology, transportation, logistics services, and compliance solutions. So I want to just walk you through first, give you kind of an overview on what has happened and transpired over the last couple of months with the Trump tariffs, and then do a rapid fire of some strategies that we recommend brands to mitigate the risk of the increase in cost. Some of these strategies are actually complex and they take months to implement, but I just want to put them out there and to foster the conversation. So again, I'm not going to go into the detail here, but as everybody knows, it's been quite a roller coaster over the last couple of months. It all started in February when Trump announced a national emergency at the border due to illegal immigration and fentanyl, and he invoked what's called the IE Pact, and then hit right off the bat hit China with 10% increased tariffs, and then Mexico and Canada with another 25%. Then there was a pause of Mexico and Canada. And then in March, China was hit with another 10% to be at 20. And then the famous Liberation Day in April 2nd, where he announced 10% baseline reciprocal tariff, as they're called, across the board to most countries. And then an additional up to 50% to many other countries, right? And then it went on, right? Later in April, the 10% came into effect to all markets. And then they put a pause on the 9th for all reciprocal tariffs except the 10% base, except for China. This pause was 90 days and is fast approaching, which in fact, we haven't heard a lot about what's going to happen after July 8th when this 90-day pause expires, right? We only hear that there's a discussion with China and with UK, but not with the other countries. And then finally, the de minimis went away in May, the $800 de minimis for products coming in, from China and Hong Kong. And then another pause of the Chinese reciprocal tariffs that went up to 125. And now they're actually set up at the base 20%. So a lot of activity, hard to keep up with everything that's going on. But in terms of how we, what sort of recommendations we're providing brands, again, these are complex, some of them, and take time to implement. The first one may be obvious, but update prices. Now, there's a lot behind this. There's obviously strategies on how to do this. We recommend, of course, doing A/B testing. You can either embed the additional duty into your product price in the PDP or break it out in either as a surcharge at checkout and include different messaging at checkout. We facilitate and support all that. Of course, customers don't like hidden fees at checkout, and typically there is dropping conversion up to 48% we've seen if you don't embed, if you include a checkout. So that's one strategy. It's probably one of the easiest and most obvious. Others, again, and these are all related to how you source your product and supply chain. But what we're seeing some brands and some importers is either pull forward inventory ahead of an increase in tariffs or delay shipments and negotiate with your suppliers, mainly in Asia, to basically bear some of the cost. We've seen some reporting from the big giants in China, Alibaba, where 40% of their suppliers have agreed actually to extend holds and keep the inventory in China before shipping to the US, waiting for some of the weather the storm, or even share some of the cost, right? Like here, 30%. The other one, which is also quite complex and unique, is leverage what's called bonded warehouse. These are basically facilities and warehouses that are within the US, but you're actually delaying the paying of the duties as the product comes in. So you can hold the inventory in your warehouse, and you will only be assessed the duty when the product comes out of your warehouse. There's quite a few requirements. And some restrictions is that you cannot modify your product in that warehouse, and you can only exit from that bonded location at a carton level, not at an individual item level when you're doing fulfillment, and that has some implications in your operations. Number 4, and again, there's been a lot of controversy about this, is either use what's called first sale or wholesale valuations when you're bringing your product in. This requires a lot of record keeping and compliance. So we recommend merchants to treat this very carefully and discuss this with their trade lawyers. In essence, is instead of importing your product at what you are basically, if you're doing cross-border e-commerce and you're selling from let's say a location in Mexico or Canada, instead of importing it at the retail value, you import it at a value that you purchased it from your manufacturer from your a supplier. Another one, this is also very, very widely used in many other industries and in apparel as well, where you can review your country of origin and your what's called HTS classification, which is determine your duty rate, and do what's called tariff engineering by modifying certain components of your product that will lower again the rate. If you change maybe from certain fabric to another, again, this takes months to create and to change, but it's a very important strategy. Shifting to in-country fulfillment. If you're exporting, you can basically bypass the US and then put your product in another location closer to your market, to your selling market, to avoid the double paying duties. You can save on that cost and obviously reduce double paying additional processing fees and returns. And then lastly is, and so this is something that is becoming now more common, is file for duty drawbacks for all your exports. So basically, you can claim the duty that you pay on your imports for every product, up to 99 for every product that you export. A lot of companies are eligible to this, but not many are actually leveraging, only 12%. And there is a lot of money left on the table. It's about $5 billion per year that are remaining unclaimed. And we are educating our merchants and facilitating that process. It takes some time. You have to require a registration with CBP to make this work. And these are my 7 recommendations.
I like that. 7 recommendation in 7 minutes. Well done, Agustin. Like, honestly, you just made the chat like on fire. But we are out of time. So if you can respond to these guys asking those questions, that will be very, very helpful. But thank you so much for being on board here, just sharing some of your insights. But you definitely got the chats on fire today. So feel free to do and answer them through the chat. I think that would be really helpful to them. And I don't know, they were asking if you'll be sharing the slides. I will let them figure that out, but if you can answer, that would be great. Thank you so much, Agustin. All right, guys. Next up, we've got another exciting speaker, which is Diana. She is a senior GTM product marketing manager at Gorgias. I'm super excited for this one, and yeah, I will let her take the stage. Diana, are you good? Can we just do some test down? Awesome. All right, I'll let you take the stage right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. I'm super happy to have you here and to discuss with you. I actually enjoying myself the session a lot. I thought that we'll be all sharing as speakers the same tips and advice. And I realized that all our tips are complementary. So I'm very happy about that. And I hope you're all enjoying the session as well. All right. I prepared also a presentation for all of you as well. And so I'll be sharing our positioning that we have Gorgias as a team towards the situation right now. And yeah, for those who don't know, Gorgias is a conversational AI platform for to manage your customer experience. So we know that e-commerce was already hard, especially with the pressure that has been put on the margin for the last years with increasing ads costs through different platforms. With the tariff situations, it got even harder, especially it becomes uncertain what's going to happen next. So, because of that situation, we also wanted to listen to you and to know actually what brands are saying right now regarding the situation. So, we run a survey where we have about like 60 brands that answer to it. And I'm going to share you a couple of like results and what brands are actually doing right now to cope during those times. So that you know, on the survey, almost like we had a good representation of different brand size and also like different industries. So I feel it was a pretty representative survey. So first of all, as you can see on the small graph, all of you, what we hear, you're concerned about it. Almost 80% say that you're between somewhat or extremely concerned. And what we hear by talking to you is that you're always, sometimes not always, you're always like reluctant to share your potential strategies because you wonder, is it legal actually to share that with my peers or like on a webinar like this one? Do I need to get an approval first before sharing it? So what we see that usually these tactics are being shared in private communities, usually between peers and selected. So I definitely encourage you to open up the discussions with your peers because this is how you'll get the most of insights about what actually brands are doing. We hear a lot of uncertainties because this back and forth communications regarding what's going to happen were, as you actually, Augustine, you did a great job of showing this timeline of how they have been changing and what will be the final decision be as well. Yep. So, and what we hear, guys, from you, what you'll be doing is you're going to leverage multiple levers. So, first level is the negotiation of better terms with your suppliers. 42% are going to do that. Two, that second lever is absorbing this cost internally, which is pretty close to the first one. Third, pretty close to, it's shifting sources to new countries. So that's something you're exploring as well, diversifying your potential suppliers. And finally, it's passing the cost on to customers. And we still see, so what we found interesting by looking at these numbers is, guys, you care about customer loyalty as well. And you think about like passing cost to customers, like not as a first level, but like more like as a second level as well. And you're trying to first to see if you can do something with your suppliers first, or how you can absorb that internally. So I'm going to share a couple of like our perspectives on that as well regarding how you can absorb the cost internally, and also if you decide to pass this cost on customers, on how to do that. So on the right side of the slide, you can see what we found interesting as part of this like survey is that 30% of brands will be adopting AI in their operations, which will help them to absorb this cost internally as well. Cool. Actually, so for those of you who is exploring to pass the cost of tariffs to your customers, we recommend to lean into proactive communication with your loyal customers because tariffs you cannot control, but you can control the trust you have built over the years with the most loyal of your customers. So sharing it transparently will be helpful for your shoppers. For example, we have this brand Base. They you can look at them. They send bags and luggages. Their AOV is between $100 to $200. They decided to share this like proactively that they're going to increase their costs due to tariffs. And here you can see the communications that they have sent to their customers. What it helps with, it reduces the customer confusion when they see this change, especially if they were on the website before and then they arrive and they see suddenly another price. So at least they know that. And you show that you care about them and you show empathy. So definitely that's something important into relationship building. I was sharing to you, so in the case you decide to absorb the costs internally, you might want to use AI as well. So I just want to share a couple of results that we see that brands are having when they actually implement AI for in their CX operations, and that's something you might want to pitch basically to your boss in case you want to like implement AI to get like leaner as a team. So best in class brands, what they get, they're able to automate 40% of their conversations that they get inside, which results in more than $1,000 in annualized savings, which can represent up to 50% of cost reduction of what's their customer support and customer experience. As well as AI is helpful to also drive revenue because we can right now drive more personalized conversation. So the conversion on site can up to double, so which is very interesting, which can result as well up to like 100 revenue uplift. I guess Alicia, I see you're here.
You still have 30 seconds. So if you
Okay.
have any more to share, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll be wrapping up. Just want to share a couple of examples that brands are that are doing it. Dr. Bronner, you might be using like this soap, all of you. So here are a couple of results that they got, which is an amazing brand. And I think I prepared you another brand, Wear Pepper as well. They were able to automate up to 50% of their volume support and lift their AOV by 20%. So that's another tactic you could employ for to cope with tariffs. Yeah, maybe so final point. I was constantly hesitating to share you the slides, but I heard like what are the helpful resources as a brand you could get basically to cope with that. I think Augustine, you shared also the tariff trade tracker. I've heard it from our brands that they loved it, so I'm going to share it in here in the chats if you want to use it as well. But what we hear from our brands, relying on communities, gorgeous communities, also communities helpful. Careers usually are helpful. FedEx, UPS, they know a lot, and inventory management tools as well, not inventory, as you can see it. But yeah, rely on them. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope we'll make it through all together.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. I think there is also a couple questions for you, so you can feel free to, answer them as well. But we appreciate it, your time, and yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you. Well, in the meantime, let's take a little wind down because we did talk a little bit about giveaways, and feel free, guys, keep putting in more questions. The more question, the better, and the higher chance for you to like be picked out as well. So we actually got our first winner, which is Aaron Oppenheimer. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but you actually, oh, there he is. There. I think that's Augustine responding, but yes, you actually won one of the giveaways, and I will actually get the team to reach out to you later on, but congratulations. And yeah, guys, keep putting in more questions. Next up, we have the exciting man, Michael D'Elia himself. He actually was, interestingly, he was, when we were talking about where he was earlier, and now he's in Groove Live. But before that, maybe I'll let him share a little bit of a story, but it was an exciting time for him. But Michael, it's so nice to have you here as always. But yeah, take it the floor.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Stoked to be here, everyone. So yeah, Alicia alluded to it. I was at Ridge.com for a number of years, and now I've stepped into the role of director of ecom at Groove Life. Absolutely stoked to be here. So I'll be talking about testing into new norms, and I'll just share my screen real quick here. And specifically like price testing and offer testing into new norms using kind of checkout in that bottom of funnel space with Aftersell. So in both roles at Groove Life and Ridge, we have like a large assortment of accessories, right? And then we really want to add value to that kind of accessory economy by creating these like upsells and bundles and showing how our products kind of have this synergy and complement each other. So there's many ways you can do that. And of course, like the cart building starts early, right? Earlier on the funnel. So by the time you get to checkout and you're realizing that, oh, like we didn't get this attachment and we didn't find the success that we thought we would find higher up the funnel, where are the touch points that we're leveraging at the bottom and even post purchase where we can kind of get that sale, especially when it comes to irking out more margin when you consider the tariffs kind of levied on importing goods. So what were the problems that we had? We needed a way to kind of test exclusive gated offers without hurting the brand perception. So like Ridge and Groove, like we really don't want to be known as like discount brands. We want to like kind of move the needle in terms of like full price product. But sometimes you have to liquidate and you have to move product. And we didn't want to like necessarily advertise you can get stuff at a certain percent off. So by having kind of like the purchase gate, if you will, we're able to kind of test like appetite for these offers after the sale, which is really great. And then just checkout and post purchase in general, like underutilized for revenue, like whether it be like monetization or just like better, like more cohesive upsells, just a space where like you already have your credit card out theoretically and you're ready to buy, and like we can continue to provide value to the customer there. And I think a lot of brands just don't kind of realize that their checkout is not only like to be optimized to convert, but also to kind of like continue that cart building behavior that you're fostering, like potentially like, way up higher in your purchasing journey. And then, yeah, like we needed to test all this. Like whether it be multivariate testing, offer testing, et cetera, like we really needed to kind of find a way to try that out. And not a lot of tools out there like had like this multivariate component to it. So we were stoked that like we could see it. We could test a variety of options like right within platform. And that was something that like, especially like if as an e-commerce manager, you want to try like so many different things. So that was a space that we really used. And then I can get into exactly how we use the space. So I touched on gated offers. So what discount level moves the needle? Where can we see kind of like price testing as far as not wanting to market it, but try it with customers? Post-purchase was a great spot for that. Liquidation tactics, like actually just like moving through inventory at like record low prices. Great spot for that as well. Obviously they're gated again, like behind the paywall theoretically. So your wholesale partners won't get mad at you for discounting product, which is like underrated, I think. So very cool there. And then this other thing that I don't think a lot of brands talk about is like conversion rate as like almost a soft metric when it comes to upsell appetite. And like, yeah, okay, we need to get attachment rate up. You're usually like going towards like some sort of AOV goal from leadership. Like, okay, if we get to this AOV, we can back into X amount for the projection. But when it comes to like a post purchase specifically, I think it's like a soft metric in that, okay, like if we're seeing like a high enough conversion rate and we're funneling enough people through this post purchase upsell, we're actually like creating value. And like this as an upsell or a complement to the order is an indicator that people like get a value from it and like they're satisfied instead, because like you can imagine that a post-purchase upsell, like the full landing page is kind of disruptive between that like thank you page. So if we're seeing a high conversion rate and despite like not necessarily optimizing for like a revenue per session, just seeing if people accept, we're like, oh, like taking it with a grain of salt, of course, but like this is like additive. And that leads to the last point, impacts up the funnel. So if we're seeing like certain product combinations work and we're seeing like certain price points work or product triggers that marry into better, like I said, product combinations, like those are indications that we can try those with different product levers or different price points higher up the funnel. But it's going off that conversion metric, like, oh, this is additive to the experience. And yeah, so that was a huge unlock for us in the post-purchase. The last things I'll say is like about checkout versus post-purchase is like what each do functionally. So I think something that I've taken with me in my career is like the long form ad and that you're never stop selling your products. So think about how many touch points you have to upsell someone, whether it be on page, in cart, and then again on checkout, and like thinking thoughtfully like what you're doing through there. And then at each you can experiment in each phase, like with an offer. And then especially when it comes to, again, like irking back margin and targeting like an AOV goal, you just have more opportunities to get that conversion and raise that AOV. Or you can like go after UPT, however, like you do your metrics at your company. So that's important there. Again, like completing the funnel is just another chance to convert folks on those upsells. And then capture loyalty. I have a screenshot. Ridge was doing this prior to when I left, and they continue doing it, but never missing a chance to sign in a shopper or a customer. And this is within checkout. So like, it's not necessarily like an upsell, but it's a point to, like, okay, like now we have you, and it's like it's utilizing that real estate, where before it's like all you had to do when you were trying to sign someone into your account was like the little account button in like your nav bar. So just making sure you're taking stock of the real estate there and all the options that you have within. Moving on to post-purchase is monetization. So whether you're doing like network ads or some sort of like additive experience, that's important. Conversion rate is a soft metric. I know people are going to hate me for that, but I swear by it. Like, I really do think like if you take it as like a satisfaction metric and bring that up the funnel, it'll work wonders. And then gated liquidation. So those like really offers that you're hesitant to run on site, you can run post-purchase with a price gate, and then your checkout will print money. The end.
The end. I love that. This is amazing. We do have Lauren Ball actually asking, were your upsell dynamic or predetermined?
They weren't dynamic as in like rapidly configured. They were definitely programmatic. So like there was like very thoughtful triggers in like, okay, product X does Y to get Z at a certain price point, etc. So like we got really, especially with companies like Life and Ridge, got very granular with like color matching and making sure that the experience was additive to target that conversion rate goal. Because like we had saw in practice that like this color matching led to the desired outcome. So while they weren't dynamic, I wish they were definitely programmatic.
Amazing. Actually, there's one more question here that I can just put it up on stage. Is that, Michael, what do you suggest a company who has a single line of products with a limited number of SKUs do for upsell at checkout or post-purchase? Guys, I do not like, Mike just loves this thing. Like he's like a mathematician. So I'm just gonna let him do his thing. But yeah, he might be able to help you because he's done this for a long time.
I would say like your first indicator is just looking at product trends on your site. So like, what are people naturally buying together? Are they buying two of the same thing all the time? Like naturally, and then kind of like feeding into that behavior, whether it be like in your upsells, in your post-purchase, etc. Especially like when you have like limited number of SKUs, usually like some sort of bundle of the same item. And if it's a consumable, it's a whole different game. I've been selling products that last for life for my entire career, so consumables aren't necessarily my thing, but that's what I would suggest at the get-go, like bundles of 2 and 3 of the same item, and fostering the behavior that you're likely already seeing in product trends.
Amazing. Well, lastly, I know, Mike, you have some offers to the people audience that are watching, and can you share what it is? Or
Yeah, we have a discount code, 10% off the site. I saw that it was active. So groovelife.com. Yeah.
you might want to drop the code for them in the
Sure
chat
thing.
as well. So that would be awesome. So anybody who wants to get some Groove Live, like, here we are. This is an exciting time. All right. Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for your time as always. And I will put you back in the stage. All right. Thank you, guys. While we're coming into almost the ending, but wait up, because we are still pretty much, we've got time. And that essentially means I have actually just did another roulette of like the winner. The next winner is Dennis had. Oh my gosh, Hodges. I'm so sorry. If I'm not pronouncing correctly, I'm so sorry, but congratulations. You are actually getting a $100 Visa gift card from Gorgias. So I'm going to put your name down, and I will make sure Gorgias actually reach out to you and obviously give you out your gift card. So congratulations again. Super exciting time. You are so very welcome. And so the next step, which is I'm super excited. Let's switch up the gear because we've been bringing in some tech partners and also Mike himself, who is a brand, and we're gonna actually switch up to a brand panel with side. So that's gonna be very exciting time here where we're gonna have like the brand themselves and also the speakers. So I'm going to move everyone on stage right now and let's go from there. And let's see. Okie dokies. I'm excited. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm going to let you guys take the floor right now.
Thank you, Alicia. Hello, everybody. My name is Sai Backus. I'm a senior account executive here on the Aftersell team. I've been here for a little over a year now, but prior to that, I actually worked on the Shopify Plus team for about 3 years, so dealt with thousands of merchants. I also used to run my own DTC store for quite some time, so this is a topic that I love to chat about. And today's conversation really overall is to hear from the brand side how they sort of navigated this uncertainty and found opportunity in some of this uncertainty as well. So thrilled to be joined by two experienced operators, both of whom are Aftersell partners. So I have Rachel Oberst, VP of Product and Operations at Moonbrew, and Greg Duval as well, Director of E-commerce at Lyra Collective and Lola. And both of them, as a special thank you to the audience, have both provided generous discount offers for any of you that are interested in shopping on their site. So I'm just dropping that here in the chat right now. And there you go. Thank you both for being so generous and for diving in. I know that we've only got 15 minutes, so we'll do our best to get through it as much as possible. But first of all, Rachel, we'd love to start with you. What immediately were you and the team sort of thinking about when you first initially kind of heard about this tariff uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe for some context setting on our company, for those who don't know us. So Moonbrew, we make a magnesium-based sleep aid, but it's magnesium, L-theanine, so amino acids, and then traditional Chinese herbs, botanicals. So as you can imagine, we were heavily reliant on the Chinese supply chain. 80% of the world's magnesium comes from China as well. Something like that. So it was definitely something top of mind. In Q1, though, we did start thinking this would happen. And so we started the diversification away from China to other low-cost countries or lower-cost countries, but also we thought it would be less impacted for the tariffs. So Mexico, Vietnam, India were a couple of the top players. So it was, I guess, in a lot of ways, we anticipated it. So we started diversifying immediately as we could, which was enabling us to stave off a lot of the impact. And so we brought to new countries as well as brought to the United States wherever we could. Was a couple of key things we did. We also negotiated with our current suppliers we didn't want to lose and share in the cost. That was a tactic that actually worked quite well for us. If they wanted to be our partner, you kind of knew by them willing to share into that tariff cost. So those are the top three. I can get into more specifics, but it was definitely a trying time for those few months for us. A lot of sleepless nights.
I imagine. And diversification is a word that we're hearing a lot across brands that we're working with. Greg, was that sort of a similar experience on your end?
Absolutely. Diversification is key right now. So just a little bit about Lyra Collective. So we are a consumer brand portfolio company made up of brands across the skincare, cosmetics, and personal care spaces, with Lola being one of them. So over the past really 2 years, it's been a focus of ours is to think about how we diversify our supply chain out of China. Now, with that being said, diversifying takes a long time to qualify various suppliers, and it's been a slow-moving process. However, this has helped us with our negotiations as well with current suppliers that want to keep our business. So thankfully, with our strong relationships with our Chinese suppliers, we were able to negotiate some temporary price discounts on our COGS tied to elevated tariff rates. Now, these costs, these discounts aren't offsetting any elevated tariff rate, but it was a nice gesture from the factories that, it's just credit to the relationship we built over time. We've also looked at negotiating out any pass-through costs that the factory might throw on to our COGS, so we can really just get the true raw materials and production cost. And then I'd say lastly, what we're focused on is dual sourcing. Like, is there a component, say for one of our skincare products, like if the cream is made in the US and we're dual sourcing the container in China, can we get that container made in Vietnam or Cambodia or even in India? So it's thinking about all parts of diversification, both at the overall product level, but as well as the component level.
Love that. And in terms of you know, diversifying and perhaps looking at new suppliers, like what sort of vetting are you doing with these new suppliers, trying to keep resilience in mind? Rachel, we can start with you.
Yeah. So our process is probably a little bit different than Greg's in that we are something you ingest versus put on your skin, but it might be very similar. So curious, Greg, how you do it. I mean, it's a long questionnaire, you know, first to figure out, are you going to meet our standards, our pricing, all the things we need from you, lead times, what have you. Then typically a call. I think it's really important to get to know your suppliers on a relationship level. As Greg mentioned, it's a relationship business. We have to know it's a real person and we are a real business. I find it also helps them have trust in us and want to partner with us and want to like help us succeed. If they succeed, we succeed, vice versa. So then that, and then sampling is a huge thing, part of our business. So actually getting them to send the product. If they charge you for them to send for us to send us a sample of theirs, excuse me, that's kind of a red flag. Like they should be proud of their product, right? So we don't like to pay for the sample cost or the shipping cost. And then it's like playing with the product. Do we like it? Is it what we want for the quality of our end consumer good? And that's the largely like, you know, a lot more detailed steps in there, but how we qualify, and we try to get at least 3 to 5 suppliers for each individual ingredient that we have across different locations in the world.
Wow. So that is very diversified. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Greg, for you?
Yeah, building on Rachel's points, it is definitely an involved process, particularly for products that you're putting on your body. There are a lot of compliance and regulations that both brands need to abide by. So we need to make sure the factory that we qualify has the necessary certifications to produce a high quality product that we won't be dealing with, you know, any product backlash, but as well as regulatory concerns once we import it and sell it to customers. Sampling certainly is a key component of the process. And after multiple months, just kind of looking in the office, how many samples we have of various products, testing them out, you know, figuring out what we like, what we don't like, comparing it to competitors' products. We'll also, you know, try to also get ideas from our factories of variations to our existing products that we can make to either, you know, meet various compliant regulations or consider a new product idea. So throughout this process, we want a long-term partner because of how slow moving it is than just trying to solve an immediate need.
Yeah, love that. And as you're continuing to evaluate these and vet these new suppliers and, you know, evaluate your entire logistics chain in general, have you guys had any or found any unexpected benefits or maybe operational improvements that you were able to sort of fix?
Greg, you can go first. I've been going first the last
Oh, yeah.
times.
Sure. So I think in general, it's led to just true ruthless prioritization in the way of SKU rationalization of, you know what, if we are going to have a larger cash draw when we need to pay this purchase order, we're going to be a lot more mindful of what we're allocating our cash towards. So a underperforming variant, say a size or a color that, you know, we just had to round out the set on a listing, we're probably not going to restock that. We're really focusing on our winners in the way of our merchandising, pricing, general creative efforts to one, kind of think about how we get a higher return on our cash, but as well as increase our inventory turnover.
Yeah. Hearing that a lot in the space. And for you, Rachel?
Yeah, I'd second that. For sure, prioritization. I think it just made us better operators as well. You know, pressure makes diamonds, and that's how it felt for our team. We got better at negotiating. We tried different tactics to figure out what would work. I think it was new territory for almost anyone in the space in terms of the extremeness of the tariff, and so it was like playing chess, which was kind of interesting. But so it was just kind of fun in that it was a great learning opportunity for the team. Also, it gave us license as a brand to switch things up a bit. So we actually went through a rebrand recently, and so we switched from pouches to jars all during this. And I think you know, we had to find new suppliers, but it also played nicely into that rebrand. We switched the amount of actual product in the jars down. We tailed it back to 25 servings versus 30 because our current customers actually don't use it 30 times a month. So they were paying for more than they needed. But that also, I think consumers were a little bit more forgiving to us because we tailed back the serving size, but we didn't increase prices in order to give them a better quality, a better experience. But we didn't actually have to raise prices then as well, despite the tariff impact. So it gave us an opportunity. The consumer is more forgiving, plus we as a business could change things, be better operators, try things out.
Yeah, and love that you guys both found benefits in the uncertainty. And I just wanted to ask an additional question related to like the customer side, because I know that you said that you weren't really looking to increase prices, but have you guys had to change your messaging around tariffs to your customers? How have you communicated this to your customers without kind of eroding brand or customer loyalty?
Yeah, I'm just going to kick this off. So price increases have come on our side, both directly and indirectly. I think like for some of our subscription heavy businesses, we focused on just a clear price increase on D2C on one-time purchases. So that we want to acquire subscription customers anyway, with the hope that the higher one-time purchasers end up getting incentivized more so at the lower price to go subscription, because we're going to be able to have a much higher LTV than they just purchase once. We've also valued ways across the portfolio for like indirect price increases, such as a increase in the free shipping threshold, perhaps the increase in the actual shipping fee if you're below the threshold, or other incentives like a gift with purchase if you spend say $100 or $150 on the site. So these like both direct and indirect have been successful so far. Is actually just an internal meeting this morning of how we've been able to keep volume at least steady while increasing prices. So it's been successful, but we've done it very thoughtfully and deliberately than just a broad sweeping increase.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I second a lot of that. We did a lot of similar things. I think our thesis was this was going to impact us. We were going to do as much as possible to keep it down, the impact. But if we are going to have to change things, like we changed, like I mentioned, from the 30 servings to 25 servings, let's offer a better experience to the customer while we're at it, so they don't feel like they lost out on it. And so we did not want to raise prices at all. That was like a number one thing. And so we, made it a nicer experience through the jar, lowered the serving size, like I mentioned. We also increased we said other ways. So we increased the AOV, like you mentioned, Greg, in order to qualify for free shipping, or we started charging for shipping. I think there were things we weren't getting credit for our consumers, what we were doing for them. So that if we could start, charging if you want express shipping, X amount of dollars. So we had to get creative. Bundling, how do we bundle things, offer more gifts that you could add on to your item to increase AOV, thus unlocking shipping, but also making it more worth our while. So we got really creative on the actual offering, I'd say. Those are the main levers. Yeah.
Okay. And I know we're coming up on time here, so I really want to hear your answers to both of this question, which is basically, what change do you wish you had made sooner? Kind of looking back in hindsight now when you had heard about these tariffs initially. And Greg, we can start with you.
I'd say a number of changes, but on the ethos of the ruthless prioritization of cutting underperforming colors or sizes of products, that we were supporting just broader selection, but we're also seeing how the customer, votes through their dollars. And if they weren't buying, if say a variant was say under 10% of sales for a listing, we probably don't need to stock that and just focus our efforts and our creative on the other variants that are driving sales and that it's clear that people like because they're buying the product.
Amazing. And
yeah, that's a good question. So we are a rapidly scaling business, which is why I think that's great. It also presents opportunities in that you can pivot quickly, right? That's the beauty of being a small and growing company. So, I mean, I probably would have said, in February, I mandated my team. I'm like, we need to get away from let's be around like a single supplier. I'm like, it's now. You need to figure this out now before Liberation Day. And so I would have probably done that sooner than that. I think domesticating as much as possible, I would have tried to do that sooner as well in terms of, what there's double, I think two benefits there. Well, one, we would have probably saved some tariffs, but also lead time decreases if you can get it at a favorable price in the United States. That just helps tremendously for, again, as a rapidly scaling business, it's hard to forecast your demand. And so it's like, I don't want to overbuy. So if it's closer to me, I can buy almost directly when I need to purchase that item to meet whatever units I'm producing. So as much as possible, but like Greg said, it takes a long time to find the right partners. So while we had I gave the team 6 weeks to kind of get the, version 1 of the diversified supplier base, where it's an iterative process. We're continually doing it. So now it's an ongoing basis and trying to get as many possible partners closer to the United States as possible is the goal. Well, it's going to continue to be the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maureen in the chat actually asked a great question for Greg. She said, what's the best approach to calculating the long-term cost benefit of absorbing versus passing on tariff-related price increases?
That's a great question. I'll take a try at that one. So I think it's understanding if you're in a subscription business, how a price increase will affect the customers that you've already acquired. Because you think of all the money you spent on the CAC, and keeping them and retaining them is key to any long-term health of any consumer business. So some things I'm looking at is our churn rates and a big focus on retention marketing of how we can keep those customers satisfied and demonstrate our value, whether it's just more product education, maybe an additional offer here or there, and also more in terms of brand awareness campaigns of whether it's something we're doing in particular for Lola, a benefit for the community or whatnot, just to better tell our brand story. But in terms of the specific cost side, I'm really focused on how an increase in price may lead to an increase in churn, because that's going to have the largest long-term effect on the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rachel, another great question from the chat for you is, how can out subscription models buffer brands against volatility in sourcing and tariffs? That was coming from Courtney.
And Courtney, I'm not exactly sure what out subscription models mean, but I can talk about subscription models because that is something that definitely we face. It's definitely a tricky thing because you can't just buy and when you sell out, you sell out. You have to always be thinking about how do we refill, right? Which makes it extra fun. So how we think about it is you can modulate and you can do modulate your spend, how you spend towards a certain product, for example, and what you target people buying. You can also choose to hold back a certain amount of inventory. So once I meet this X, subscribers, then I can't let new subscribers subscribe to that because I have to be able to fill them. And then until I can produce more product, I can then allow new people to subscribe. That's one way to think about it because we do not want to go out of stock on something that we want people to be able to subscribe to. So I'd rather have my initial round of subscribers happy, and then everyone else can be one-time purchasers until I can restock. But again, goes back to, I think flexibility is your best friend in a subscription model, and how can you reduce the lead time to replenish? That would be my quick answer.
Great answer. And just to round off a couple of closing questions here, I know we're coming up on time, is what's on your radar next, essentially, in terms of policy and trade shifts? What are you guys kind of thinking about moving forward?
I'd say in terms of like policy wise, I'm trying to stay as up to date as possible on tariff changes. I actually subscribe to this newsletter called the DTC newsletter. I think it's run by Pilot House, and it's every day they're putting out updates on tariffs that has been, quite helpful to follow. And our internal sourcing team is, sometimes boots on the ground, talking to our suppliers about any changes that they foresee happening.
Okay.
So I'll pause there. In terms of trade shows, this week is Commerce Next, I know in New York City, more so of an enterprise brand focus. That's on my radar for now.
D2C newsletter. I will definitely be checking that out myself. That sounds very, very interesting. And Rachel, for you, what's kind of been your way to stay on top of all the changes?
The news, websites like Greg mentioned. I think, Trump's Twitter account actually was helpful in figuring out what he was going to do next. So, it's those, as well as, partners. What are you thinking? How are you thinking about it? Just talking to a lot of people is really, like, again, it's no one really knows what's next, which is kind of, you just got to stay all the information you can get, basically.
Yeah. Alicia, are we at time? We are? Okay. Well, before we wrap, just wanted to thank you both so much for joining the panel today, sharing your insights. That was super helpful, and we love having you as partners of Aftersell. So to close out our show for today, basically next, we're going to be introducing Ellie Bardin, Director of Paid Social Media at Avenue Z, who's going to be walking us through the Margin Comeback Playbook, really focused session on how to stretch every dollar through smart conversion bundles. So we'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
First of all, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for your intro. My name is Ellie. I'm definitely super, super excited to be here. I'll share my screen and we can jump into the action. So one moment. Awesome, there we go. So a bit about me and what we're going to be talking about. So my name is Ellie. I'm Director of Paid Social at Avenue Z. Been doing e-com since 2018. More than $50 million in ad spend up to date, currently managing more than $5 million a month and overseeing that within the agency. Very high profile account that most of you know as well. And there's a lot of things that our clients or other brands are always asking us and asking me, and it's all about the tariffs, margins, what's going to be happening with that. So took all that information that we have, put it into this margin recovery playbook, and we're going to be discussing paid social tactics and conversion strategies to win back the profit. Sec. Awesome. But first, before we go in, when it comes to marketing your brand, what keeps you up at night? Write down, and the best answer will get a 1-year subscription worth of masterclass. Please give us all the information, and let's see. So let's jump into the action. Stay here. It's going to be very interesting. So margins are under attack. Tariffs, shipping, and bloated ad costs are squeezing every dollar. As we all know, it's definitely a concerning situation. So what do? Cutting spend, it's just not enough. It's all about the strategy. Strategy is key. If we want to scale, we need to usually increase the spend, and there's a lot of strategies that we need to do to actually get there. So step 1, fix the landing page leak. Avoid under-optimized landing pages. If your landing page isn't optimized, it doesn't go for best performing SKUs or just doesn't follow the best practices, don't use it. You don't need to have an ego or feel that you have to use all the landing pages that you have. Use what makes sense. Build modular SKU-specific pages. If you have a SKU that's crushing it, that's doing well, make landing pages around it. There's tons of concepts you can use, but definitely put more focus on those SKU-specific pages. Those ones tend to work best. Highlight value above the fold. As we all know, everyone's looking these days for a good deal or a promotion or just something that makes sense. And if you don't highlight the value above the fold, a lot of the time people go to the landing page, they don't really see anything that shouts out or a call out, and then they just bounce. So for you to keep them and actually for them to know that there's some kind of value within this page is definitely something that we want to have. A/B test urgency versus value stacking. If it's urgency, then it's more of scarcity, either limited edition or limited stock, or the product that went out of stock 3 times is now back again. All those things work. People need to feel some scarcity and some urgency. Plus the value stacking, which again, explaining kind of the good value, why it makes sense for them to buy now, and why it's a good deal. That's what they're looking for. And of course, and one of the most important things is tailoring the landing page to the creative itself, which means tailoring the post-click experience to the ad experience pretty much. If someone sees a specific ad and there's specific messaging behind that ad, if they go to a landing page that is completely different experience, completely different messaging, that just doesn't make sense. So for us to increase conversion rate, we definitely want to have a tailored experience. And all of these things that I talked about here will affect and increase your AOV and conversion rate. Step 2, bundle with purpose. A very interesting one and one of my favorites. So smart bundles mean better AOV and margin control. There's a lot of things that you can test that can be tested in this kind of play. And first of all, it's buy more, save more offers. It can be BOGOs. It could be pretty much anything that tells and tries to get those consumers to just buy in bulk or put more money up front. So that's definitely something very, very important. And we have seen a lot of success in this approach. And it doesn't mean it only has to be a sale or a promotion all the time. It's seeing how can we just get people to buy more. Second thing, pre-curated bundles. Think about bundles that make sense. Put a lot of thought about that. Is it something that you can cross-sell together? Is it a specific bundle that's relevant for a specific time? But definitely put a lot of thought about those behind those bundles. And gift and kits and seasonal packs. If you have something that's relevant for seasonal, then definitely go for it. It can be sometimes something that's relevant for Valentine's, Mother's Day, or any other type of promotion. Then definitely people like that because it's usually a limited edition only for those specific seasonal times. And gifting kits. Again, people love free gifts if it's a gift with purchase, if it's a gift above a certain shipping threshold. Again, have those gifts. Usually those gifts, they don't need to be some expensive gift. It needs to be something that's relatively cheap for the brand itself, but the consumer will think that, wow, there's a nice value behind that. Now, we're not forgetting subscription, of course, and subscription-based products. So push 90-day subscriptions over 30 days. That's your way to get that money up front. Now, how do I do it, Ellie? How do I get people to actually buy and subscribe 90 days and not 30 days? I mean, they don't know me that much. So there's 3 things to do. First of all, frame everything around the trust. Second thing, you need to show the timeline. You need to show why 90-day subscription actually makes sense. Show how it helps month 1, month 2, month 3, and so on and so on. And of course, results. If people will see and will understand that there are results that are improving month by month, then they will definitely get into that. Now, all of those strategies that I talked about are actually something that we implemented in a brand. And what you can see here in this graph is a brand that started with us with Avenue Z. And me personally, I'm managing the brand sometime around August before they came to us. And I'm not sure if you can see or not, but their AOV was anywhere from $30, $35, and their spend was less than $1,000 a day. Within about 7-8 months, and you can see there in March 2025 this year, we got their AOV to $56 on amount of monthly spend of almost $250K. That's more than $70K a day on a higher ROAS, more than 2x ROAS compared to 1.42x. So this is actually an example of us focusing on all of those things and putting a lot of information around that, and we saw a lot of success in that. Step 3, rethink paid social. Prioritize margin positive SKUs. Just like we said, if something makes sense and if it's a good SKU and you're making money out of it, then prioritize that. Don't prioritize SKUs that don't make sense or SKUs that are low AOV or SKUs that you just need to get rid of inventory because it just doesn't work these days. Go for your winners. Simplified funnels convert better. No need to have 30 campaigns and focusing on this and that and just pretty much being everywhere. Because I always say, if you're trying to be everywhere, you're honestly nowhere. So focus on things that work and double down on that. Use UGC and value-focused content. Use UGCs that talk about bundles and value and the good deals that people are getting. That's also a very nice way to show and explain the value behind those things. And for brands that have multiple SKUs, catalog ads, high AOV products only. Don't push low AOV products, focus on what makes sense. And some ad examples why our $40 kit saves you $200 in dentist bills, and 3 products we bundle to save $50 this summer. Let's go quickly. There's a lot of things to discuss. So what smart brands are doing these days? First of all, loyalty first pricing. Give better discounts to subscribers and VIPs. If they're loyal, they deserve better attention. Gifting strategies, bundle fast-moving SKUs with slower ones like we discussed. Make sure that you know what makes sense. And supply chain creativity, move some production out of high tariff zones. See what makes sense financially for you. So your action plan this month. Audit top margin SKUs, test bundles, landing pages, tailor those creatives to those landing pages as well. Launch new offers, subscription, gifts, and cut ad waste, double down on ROI drivers and what works. And of course, never forget everything that has to do with cross-sells, post-purchase upsells, upsells, pretty much everything that you can do with Aftersell, and it always gives money. So last thing, that end, before I jump into another small slide. So these are the things that you need to double down on. Focus on what drives margin, and then just scale it fast. So double down on hero SKUs with strong margins. If it works, double down on it. Offers that raise AOV and convert cold traffic. If you find an offer that works and your AOV is good enough, double down on that. Landing pages that clearly explain value and push urgency. Again, it's not only about the experience within the ads manager, it's also the post-click one. It has to be together, it has to be integrated in a way, and those things really matter. So just a small thing on what we're seeing now in AI search visibility in general. So as we all know, with AI, everything that has to do with organic traffic and pretty much virality there's a reduction and a bigger one. So there's anywhere from 18 to 64% reduction in organic traffic. And we set out to see how do brands get visible in AI search. Now, from learning that, Avenue Z is one of the top ranked AI optimization agencies in AI search too. So we want to share that knowledge, and we want to kind of make you pretty much see what we found, everything that has to do with e-com as well. If it's from fashion and apparel, health and beauty, electronics, everything that has to do with that. So if you're interested to see how can you also be visible, then go to avenuez.com, click on AI research, and then just sign up to be the first to know. So yeah, again, last chance when it comes to marketing your brand, what keeps you up at night? That's the question. We'll tell the winner and reach out to you later this week.
Yay, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie, for that $120 masterclass gift card. That sounds really exciting. Well, we have one question. I really appreciate everyone staying for like that 15 minutes. I know that brand session was really, really exciting. So I always save everything for last. Like Ellie is like, we all know that this is a great thing. That's why we kept them for last. But here we have Ellie. What do you advise on how tariff affect omnichannel decisions, and when should brands shift from DTC to wholesale or, I guess, marketplaces?
So that's a very good question. At the end of the day, you never really want to have all of your eggs in one basket. As long as you have a product that makes sense and you're big enough to go wholesale or try other marketplaces, then I'm definitely up for that. Wholesale, I'd say you got to be even bigger than that. Marketplaces, there's a lot of different things that you can be on and see, but at the end of the day, it's very early to go into those marketplaces or places or wholesale if you're still very early. If you still haven't owned Meta and then everything that has to do with TikTok, Google, and of course the retention channels, I would say it's still early, just because especially at that time, you need to focus on what works and you need to make sure it works, because that's when you can actually start going. So if you're a very big brand and you're already pretty much controlling it, you definitely got to be at wholesale. You definitely got to be at marketplaces. You got to diverge everything that you have. If you're still at the start and you're still not making more than probably, I'd say, 5 million a year, own that first, own the D2C channels first, and then once you get there, you'll be able to grow better.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing today's session. Obviously, it's very, very effective and useful. I hope everyone had these great insights here. I want to let you guys and remind everybody today that this is the day 1 session of margin recovery mode. There is day 2 tomorrow. So please be sure to come back for that. And I know everybody's been waiting for the last final of course, winner of the giveaway. And I do want to actually mention it is Corny Kendon Norter. I'm so sorry for the last name again, but thank you so much for your question. And you are the winner of $100 gift card from Passport. And I'm super excited for you. And they will be reaching out to you as well. So again, thank you guys so much for joining today's session. Please be sure to come back tomorrow for more giveaways and more insightful session. And I will see you then. Goodbye. Thank you.